reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. MMO Reporter's PAX Prime coverage is brought to you by GoDaddy. Get 30% off your next purchase at GoDaddy by using the code MMO30. Some limitations apply. See website for details. Hey everybody, Chris here from MMO Reporter, and I'm sitting here with Joshua. We're hanging out in the Grand Hyatt. We are talking about the Repopulation. You are lead designer for the game. We saw the game last year, and it was a lot of fun to see what you're bringing to the genre with this shooter that's so open world, so sandbox, so much player-driven content. I mean, it's a pretty expansive game. How do you describe it?
Yeah, we pretty much describe it as a sandbox MMO. Our kind of main, really, game that we kind of inspired to be was Star Wars Galaxies. That's usually what we tell people. So that was our big driving influence. But we're also kind of a PvP-focused game as well in some elements. So we get a lot of that from like Shadowbane. So we have a lot of like the player city sieging elements that you would see in Shadowbane. So we're kind of a mixture. We really push towards both PvE and PvP. We're also a very heavy crafting-oriented game as well for people who are really into crafting, the crafting gathering mechanics. Yeah, but like I said, sandbox, no levels, no classes, skills-based, so you got different skills in the game. If you want to do combat-oriented stuff, you do combat-oriented stuff. If you're more interested in like crafting like we talked about. We have housing, both instance and non-instance, and also inside of the player cities, which are in the contested areas. So if you got people that are kind of interested in doing those kind of things, those are options as well.
And I remember from last year's demo, we looked at a player-created city. We looked at the combat that was going on in there and saw the players fighting. It was very open. It was player-built cities, right? So it's players building these cities. It's not a map that you've created, right?
Yeah, we've had some testers in since basically since last year. I think we were Alpha 1 or Alpha 2 at that time. We're Alpha 3 now. So yeah, we've had players in and building their own cities. We actually have some pictures up on our forums during the Alpha 2 and also during the Alpha 3 process as well. So yeah, they go and they completely build their own cities. They have buildings that are kind of prefab built buildings, and they also have things like walls and stuff that are more kind of brick by brick type walls, not necessarily brick, but they can build walls around the city. Then you got different buildings. This also allows you to do vendors and stuff like that in the cities as well. So it's a good mixture. There's a sieging process for the cities, but it requires a lot of resources, a lot of time. The whole idea really is the sieging is more of, if everyone's being kind of a giant douche in the game, that maybe the people will kind of rally against them, especially on the normal server. Yeah. But there's a cost to that, so you don't have sieging going on constantly. We want a lot of the PvP elements to be focused on resources out in the PvP world, so people are trying to control the resources in the game to help build up their cities. So yeah, that's what we're kind of focusing on.
And it's was interesting to see that fight and the tight spaces and stuff like that. What are some surprises that you've had come out, sort of emergent gameplay mechanics that players have built these cities in the last year? Something maybe you weren't expecting that was going to happen?
I think a lot of them are really creative on how they use what's there. I mean, we just introduced the PvE housing, which is the non-instance housing out in the PvE areas, and they would just take buildings and stuff like this, different things, and scale them because we have scaling and rotation options, and build just designs that you wouldn't really think of just because the free placement. So you get a lot of that. It's really cool. We just put in, like I said, for the testing with in the PvE plots, we kind of changed how the plots go down for housing, and that came out in literally the last patch last week. And you just got people building things. Some guy built a bar on top of a building. People do some weird things. You just give them control for it. Kind of like what they do in Minecraft.
Yeah, oh, awesome. And you've also got, like you said, the sandbox element of it in the world and the crafting. Is it viable for me? I'm not much of a builder. I don't like to build stuff. It's not so much that I don't like, it's that I suck. Right? I like it, I just am really bad at it. So if I want to go out and I want to adventure and I want to support my friends who do like to build, is that going to be a viable gameplay for me to go out and adventure and get materials and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there is the resource gathering aspect, which some areas can be safe. Like I said, we have both safe areas from PvP, which is more the PvE-oriented content. So there's creatures to kill, there's the kind of raids. Most of the stuff that we do is open world, but not heavily instanced at all. So there's that. You can go and kill the creatures, skin them. We have like harvesting collection from kind of like skinning in normal games. It's a little more detailed how that process works. So you can do that. There's resource gathering. So there's still going to be that market that being able to help to feed the crafters. If the crafters who just want to focus purely on crafting, then have different players that are basically feeding them mats and materials for that. So that's a viable play option as well.
Oh, cool. What are some of the big milestones that you've hit in the last year? Because we got a chance to see the game last year. We played the game for a little bit. What are some milestones that you've hit?
Primarily, like I said, we're in early alpha, kind of a very limited testing base. We've expanded to alpha 3. We've had a lot of backers in. We're going to probably have almost all the backers in by the end of the year that have pledged so far. So we're moving forward, just getting more people into the game, making sure that the infrastructure is steady, make sure we have enough infrastructure, as things progress. So that's one of the bigger things. We're getting close to feature complete. That's one of the milestones we wanted to get toward beta. That doesn't say that the thing won't be changed or modified a little bit, but all the core features will be available in the game for testing. So that gives us kind of a full picture of how players are interacting with those. So that's a very important, just about any game is getting the core features, especially with MMO because it's so wide feature-wise. But yeah, we've had some modifications to the landmass. One of the big complaints we were getting from some early on with the testers, but everything was kind of enclosed. So we opened things up, modified a little bit better. Things are a little more open and wider. We got some good feedback from that. It seems, it gives them more of an immersion, I guess, with the land since it's not tunneled as much. It just kind of accidentally happened because of the mountainous areas we had, and we got a lot of feedback about that, so we changed and flattened that out a little bit. So yeah, I mean, we've gotten really good feedback. You get some, players just telling us they're really happy with what we've been doing so far, and that's always a good thing to hear, positive feedback. And there's still some criticism here and like critiques, so you're always going to get that, and we take that feedback and try to do what we can, do with it.
It seems like there is quite a strong community that's starting to form around the game. As the creator, as the developer here, that must be a lot of fun for you to see that grow from, when you first started letting anybody else play to now getting a substantial community going.
Yeah, it's always fun working with the community that we deal with. I got some people are very passionate on kind of like I said, different spectrums, both like the PvE side and the PvP side. Those are always interesting debates on the forum. So yeah, it's always really good to deal with the testers and kind of give them the feedback they're getting from us.
Yeah. And what are some of the features that have yet to go into the game that you're looking forward to adding in?
We've introduced quite a few things recently, like the kind of the arena style stuff that we do. This is non-instance like PvP tournament combat type stuff where players can basically not bet yet, but they can put down rewards for winners. It's like 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 4 versus 4. It's also a good outlet for PvP training because we do have open PvP out in the contested areas, so it's not always fair when that happens. So we've added that allow people to watch and also kind of enjoy that element of the game without having as much unbalanced unfairness against them.
Well, it's looking like everything's really starting to come together. It's got a lot of momentum going on behind it in the last year here. What are some struggles that you face as an indie developer, as someone who's not, you don't have the BioWare name behind you? This is something that you're moving forward. What are some of the struggles that you're still facing, sort of in that position?
As a small indie company, it's always trying to get the staff members that we need. Trying to find talent in that area, and based on the budget we have, which is fairly low compared to most places. I mean, that's always the kind of struggle, but we do seem to find really passionate people that, since we're building a game that a lot of times the people we have on staff are fans of the game as well. That's usually how some of the people that we found, they were fans. So we kind of work that in. I think it gives a really good staff, environment that we have because, like I said, they're so passionate about the game. It's just trying to get everything kind of the point where everything is stable, everything is introduced, there's enough content, and just making sure that it's ready to be fully devoured in a kind of beta environment. So, we're getting close to that, but that's really our next big step.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the game continues to grow, seeing once you get to the feature complete stuff and seeing everything that you want to add to the game, because it was a lot of fun to play last year. So really looking forward to seeing more. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.